What were the major causes of the American Revolution?
The American Revolution resulted from growing tensions between the British government and the American colonists. Key causes included unfair taxation, such as the Stamp Act and Tea Act, imposed without colonial representation in Parliament. Colonists protested under the slogan, "No taxation without representation," demanding political rights. British attempts to control trade and limit westward expansion also fueled anger. Events like the Boston Massacre and Boston Tea Party intensified opposition. Ultimately, colonists sought self-government, economic freedom, and protection of natural rights, leading to armed conflict in 1775 and full independence in 1776.
What is the significance of the Declaration of Independence?
The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, formally announced the American colonies' separation from Britain. Written mainly by Thomas Jefferson, it expressed Enlightenment ideas such as natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It accused King George III of tyranny and justified revolution as necessary for protecting human rights. The document not only unified the colonies, but also inspired democratic movements around the world. It laid the philosophical foundation for American government by emphasizing equality, consent of the governed, and the right to overthrow unjust authority.
What were the Articles of Confederation and why did they fail?
The Articles of Confederation, ratified in 1781, created the first national government of the United States. However, they established a weak central authority with no power to tax, regulate commerce, or enforce laws. Congress could request money and troops from states, but could not compel them. Economic instability, interstate disputes, and inability to address national issues, such as foreign threats, revealed major flaws. Shays' Rebellion exposed the government's inability to maintain order. These weaknesses led to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, where the Articles were replaced with the stronger U.S. Constitution.
What is the U.S. Constitution and why is it important?
The U.S. Constitution, adopted in 1787, is the supreme law of the United States that outlines the structure and powers of the federal government. It created three branches, legislative, executive, and judicial, to ensure checks and balances. The document protects individual rights through amendments like the Bill of Rights. Its flexible structure allows for change through amendments and interpretation, enabling the nation to adapt over time. The Constitution established federalism, separation of powers, and rule of law, becoming a model for democratic governments worldwide. It remains central to American identity and governance.
What was the Louisiana Purchase and why was it significant?
The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 was a landmark event in which the United States, under President Thomas Jefferson, bought over 828,000 square miles of land from France. This acquisition doubled the nation's size and provided control of the Mississippi River and the port of New Orleans, crucial for trade and westward expansion. It opened vast territories for exploration, leading to the Lewis and Clark expedition. The purchase strengthened national security by removing European powers from the western frontier. It also advanced the idea of manifest destiny, shaping the nation's future growth.
What caused U.S. involvement in World War I?
The United States entered World War I in 1917, mainly due to German unrestricted submarine warfare, which targeted American ships and killed civilians. The sinking of the Lusitania and the interception of the Zimmermann telegram, where Germany urged Mexico to attack the US, increased tensions. Economic ties with the Allies also influenced the decision. President Woodrow Wilson argued that entering the war would help make the world safe for democracy, shifting US foreign policy toward greater international involvement.
What was the Great Migration?
The Great Migration, 1916 to 1970, was the movement of over 6 million African Americans from the rural South to northern and western cities. They sought better economic opportunities, escape from racial violence, and fairer social conditions. The migration reshaped American urban culture, contributing to developments like the Harlem Renaissance. It also transformed politics, labor markets, and racial dynamics across the country as black communities established stronger cultural and economic presence in major cities.
What led the US into World War II?
The US entered World War II after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, destroying military ships and aircraft. Before the attack, the US supported the Allies through aid programs like Lend-Lease, but remained officially neutral. Rising global threats from Nazi Germany, Italy, and Japan made conflict increasingly likely. The attack united Americans and led Congress to declare war on Japan, followed shortly by declarations against Germany and Italy, marking full US involvement.
What was the Manhattan Project?
The Manhattan Project was a top-secret US-led research program during World War II that produced the world's first atomic bombs. Scientists, including J. Robert Oppenheimer, worked in hidden laboratories such as Los Alamos. The bombs Little Boy and Fat Man were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, contributing to Japan's surrender. The project demonstrated American scientific power, but raised ethical debates about nuclear weapons and changed global military strategy permanently.
What was the Cold War?
The Cold War, 1947 to 1991, was a prolonged period of tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, marked by ideological conflict between capitalism and communism. It involved arms races, espionage, propaganda, and proxy wars like Korea and Vietnam. Although the two superpowers never fought directly, nuclear threats created global anxiety. The Cold War influenced foreign policy, led to the creation of NATO, and shaped global alliances until the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991.
What was the Marshall Plan?
The Marshall Plan, 1948 to 1952, was a massive US program providing economic aid to rebuild Western Europe after World War II. By supplying over $13 billion, the plan revived industries, restored infrastructure, and stabilized economies. It also aimed to prevent the spread of communism by promoting prosperity and democratic institutions. The plan strengthened US-European relations and contributed to long-term growth, making it one of the most successful aid programs in history.
What was the Korean War?
The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, began when North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. The United States and United Nations intervened to prevent the spread of communism. After intense fighting, the war ended with an armistice, restoring the border near the 38th parallel. Although not a decisive victory, the conflict demonstrated US commitment to containing communism and shaped Cold War military policy in Asia.
What was the Civil Rights Movement?
The Civil Rights Movement, 1950s, 1960s, was a major struggle to end racial segregation and discrimination against African Americans. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X organized protests, boycotts, and marches. Key achievements included the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The movement challenged unequal laws, demanded social justice, and reshaped American society by expanding civil liberties and promoting equality.